People have been looking at the night sky for thousands of years. Given its myriad of beautiful displays, it is no wonder why so many cultures have incorporated it into their belief systems. With some even believing that the stars can tell the future. The sky is, after all, our window into the universe. While different cultures have their own astrological practices, today I wanted to talk about Western astrology in particular, because I have uncovered something that they don't want you to know, something twisted within the canon of Western astrology that has been festering for thousands of years. And this shit goes all the way to the top. So first of all, I would just like to say that if you personally identify with your astrological sign, I have no problem with that. I do think that judging an entire person just based solely on the time and place that they were born is a little bit problematic. But if you personally identify with it and think that your astrological sign accurately reflects your personality, who am I to judge? A lot of people don't identify with their astrological sign, and we might get into part of why that is.
If we assume that the position of the celestial bodies in the zodiac actually have any amount of impact on the way that we live our day-to-day lives.
I feel like astrological signs are kind of in the same vein as Myers-Briggs personality tests. They just serve as identifying labels. For instance, when you meet somebody new, it's a lot easier to just say, I'm a Libra, than to go like really in depth into all of the experiences that you've had throughout your entire life that have led you to being the person that you are today. I think that's totally fine. As long as your beliefs aren't hurting anybody, I think you should be free to believe whatever it is that you want to believe. But that being said, if you are somebody who identifies with your astrological sign and feels like learning other people's astrological signs is a way to get to know them better, you need to watch this video more than anybody else, because it might just change your life. Because this secret that I've uncovered goes all the way back to the man who wrote the astrology Bible himself, Claudius Ptolemy.
My nemesis.
So in case you don't know, when I'm talking about Western astrology, I'm talking about people assigning meanings to the planets and their positions within the zodiac. The zodiac is the name given to the group of constellations that lie on the ecliptic, which is the path that the sun travels throughout the year. The rest of the planets in the solar system also stay within these constellations because that's essentially the disk of our solar system. It is believed that the positions of the planets within the zodiac have some impact on the way that we live our day-to-day lives. It is also believed that which planets were in which constellations at the moment of your birth are gonna dictate your entire personality as well as the life that you're going to live. Now, I would say that most people know what their sun sign is, just like based on the month of the year that you were born in, and you don't have to go into all the charts and weirdness and all the little esoteric bits. And what you might not know is that there is actually three main astrological signs. There's the sun, moon, and rising signs. I feel like the sun and moon are pretty obvious, you know. It is which constellations the sun or the moon were in at the moment of your birth. Your rising sign, however, is based on which constellation was rising over the eastern horizon at the moment of your birth. For instance, I am a Libra, Gemini, Scorpio. Or at least I thought I was. Damn you, Tommy! Oh, hi, Nash. So aside from being the
Bane of my existence?
Ptolemy was actually an incredibly influential figure. Ptolemy was a Greek or Roman guy, we're not fully sure, who lived sometime in the year 90 to the year like 160 or 170. We're not fully sure. Long time ago. 2,000 years or 1900. Our records on the whole dealio are not perfect. He is most well known for his early work depicting the solar system. This was a geocentric view of the solar system, which today we now call the Ptolemaic system, not necessarily in his honor.
For no honor should be given unto Ptolemy.
But don't get it twisted. The guy was a fucking genius. He was an incredible early philosopher who wrote groundbreaking works in the fields of optics, acoustics, and most importantly, geography. He actually devised an early geographic coordinate system that used the length of the day during the longest day of the year as the way of measuring position. The equator was 12 hours while the North Pole was 24 hours. And this shows that he actually had a pretty good understanding of the curvature of the Earth. So not even Ptolemy believed in the flat Earth. Side note here, if you haven't seen it already, you should check out my flat Earth debunking video. I'll put a thingy on the screen somewhere, if I remember to. Maybe. Despite all of his incredible works, there's only one thing that he did that is still in use today, and that is the Tetrabiblos. Or is it Tetrabiblos? Fuck. And that is the Tetrabiblos. The 4 books.
The Bible of Astrology.
I don't feel like putting in the echo in post. His 2 most important works are the Almagest and the Tetrabiblos. And the Tetrabiblos is really heavily reliant on the Almagest. Essentially, Ptolemy separated what at the time was just astrology into 2 main categories: observing the cosmos and making predictions based on those observations, which are what we now consider astronomy and astrology. Now, of course, both of these works are based on the false assumption that we live in a geocentric world, so the Almagest is no longer in use today. Booted. Get out of here, Almagest. We don't need ya. We know that we live in a heliocentric world. Fuck off. Fucking Ptolemy, you dangus. The world doesn't revolve around you, Ptolemy. Fuckhead. This is really just a slam piece for a guy who died like 2,000 years ago. So despite being like the most influential science book that has ever been written, it was being read and passed around for about 1,200 years before, Copernicus and the heliocentric model came around and we got rid of it. But the Tetrabiblos is still in use today and is heavily reliant on the Almagest. Now, I've got to run to work, so if in the next shot the lighting is totally different, that's why. Okay, I'll see you in a little bit. Bye-bye. You're not gonna go anywhere, but I am. Bye-bye. Hiya! And I have returned. Not only is my lighting slightly different, but also I've got a different outfit. And because the dogs that I'm taking care of have light hair, you might notice some dog hair on my shirt, but don't get distracted, because we're talking about important shit today. Oh shit, I forget where I left off. Now, if you hadn't guessed by the name, Tetrabiblos refers to not 1 but 4 separate books. In these books, he not only laid out the practice of like what it means to like do the astrological stuff and what the different planets mean and all that jazz. He also set it up as like an argument as to why somebody should believe in the thing that he's presenting, which I think is kind of cool. If in book 2 he didn't go into the reasons why his made-up system allows him to justify a bunch of ethnic stereotypes. Gross. Ptolemy, what the fuck, man? Don't be doing that. Bad Ptolemy. And now, my friends, I can almost unveil my secret. But first, there's something you must understand about the rotation of the Earth. Alright, so as the Earth spins on its rotational axis, the equator makes about a 23-ish degree angle with the plane of the ecliptic. This leaves our North Pole pointing essentially at Polaris, which is the reason why Polaris doesn't really seem to move in the night sky. The thing about spinning stuff is that it kind of wobbles. The Earth does this as well, and this wobbling is what we call the precession of the Earth. I think in my last video I conflated the word precession with the word spin, but it made me sound like I knew what I was talking about, even though so Mike here is going to demonstrate for us how the Earth spins and how the precession works. As the Earth is spinning, it's not just spinning like this, it's kind of spinning like this. It's also going like this. That motion is essentially what the Earth is doing. The thing is, though, that one precession takes a really
Fucking long time.
For example, about 14,000 years ago, way back in 12,000 BCE, Polaris was not our North Star. The North Star was actually Vega, which is in the constellation Lyra. And the coolest thing about this, you can actually see with your own two eyeballs just how far the precession of the Earth has moved in the last 14,000 years. So luckily for us, Polaris and Vega are two of the brightest stars in the night sky, and they're actually quite easy to find. So we're gonna do a little brief interlude into locating stars in the night sky, specifically Vega. So in my experience, the best thing to do when you're trying to find something in the night sky is you want to start from something that you know, and then from there move to things that you don't know. I feel like most people are gonna be at least somewhat familiar with the Big Dipper. The Big Dipper is the most iconic Northern Hemisphere constellation. I think it's like if you are above like 30 degrees latitude, it is within the circumpolar zone, which is just the section of the sky that never sets behind the horizon. And this happens because you're actually looking over the top of the Earth as you're looking to the north, the further north that you go. So in addition to being like super iconic and super visible in the Northern Hemisphere, the Big Dipper is actually a really useful tool for night sky navigation. So first of all, you're looking at the Big Dipper. So you got the handle and then the ladle. Now at the ladle side, there are going to be two stars, and if you imagine those as being connected by a line and you extend that line up, the next brightest star is Polaris. And Polaris is actually the last star on the tail of Ursa Minor. I have no idea if these hand gestures are accurate to any degree. I might have to flip this footage around so that way it actually makes sense, but whatever. That's editing Max's problem. If you then do the same trick that you did with the Big Dipper with the Little Dipper, whoops, I made a slight error here. When you're using the Little Dipper, you're not gonna use the exact same trick as you used with the Big Dipper. This time you're gonna use the stars that are on the handle side. Just look at my diagram. My diagram makes a lot more sense. Okay, bye-bye. Extending that line out will get you to another really fucking bright star, and that is Vega. By turning your head, you gotta turn your whole head to see just how far the Earth has moved in the last 14,000 years. Now, I should mention that these lines aren't perfect. They're like slightly off, but it's fine. It's really hard to trace a straight line in the night sky, in part because the sky actually uses non-Euclidean geometry. It's weird, it's a mess. Globes are strange, but we do live in a globe world, not a snow globe world. Don't think that. We live on a globe. That's what I should have said. Now, obviously, Ptolemy was not alive 14,000 years ago. He was, however, alive 2,000 years ago. 2,000 years is long enough for the night sky to have shifted, and that shift is a full zodiac constellation. Because the Tetrabiblos is based on the observations that Ptolemy made in the Almagest, all of the predictions, all of the things that he talks about in the Tetrabiblios, all based on these 2,000-year-old observations. Ptolemy, you bastard! bastard! Not a single person is the star sign that they say they are. Why is nobody talking about this? The sky has shifted back a full constellation. Why does nobody care? This means that everybody's astrological sign is off. What the fuck? Because all of the predictions, all of the extrapolations, oh gosh darn it, all of the things that Ptolemy talks about in the Tetrabiblos are all reliant on Polaris not being the North Star. How dare you not know things that you could not possibly know at the time that you were alive? Because it was 2,000 fucking years ago. Fucking Ptolemy. I'm not a Libra. How dare you? I'm not a Libra. I'm a Virgo. How dare you, Ptolemy? I'm not self-sufficient, indecisive, and balanced. I'm controlled, overthinking, and self-supporting. Wait, aren't those the same thing? Thanks for watching. You can like, comment, and subscribe. You can do all three of those things if you want to. But no pressure, man. Do it if you want to. Not because I told you to. Or don't do it at all. But I would prefer it if you do all those things. Yeah, you do.